Hello, welcome back. We got a new demo here for the Bamboo specs updated. I think I did one about 4 years ago. It's received quite a lot of attention and questions and asks for source code. So what I've set up here is an example template repository that we can use to generate a boilerplate for our Bamboo specs repositories. There's also some new features and available with Bamboo specs that we can take advantage of, and the setup makes it easier. And they actually have official Docker images up in Docker Hub that we can utilize. So to get started, if you want to follow along, we're going to clone this repo. Looks like I forgot to set this window to float in front. Let me do that. Float on top. There we go. So clone this repo, which I've done here, cd into this Bamboo specs demo repo itself and open it up in VS Code. We can check it all out. We're going to need to copy the example.env file here. And in here, you can see it's got a couple of key value pairs that we're going to be utilizing. These are going to end up using to run in our replace script. It's going to replace these throughout our build and deployment plans. So there's a lot of replace macros fields that we're going to run these against. And I'm going to show that so we don't have to worry about that. So let's first, I want to, I can go ahead and run it right here. Since I have this in the README docs as part of this first initial step, let's go ahead and run the replace here. So I've run that, I got the env file here, and so if I run the replace, it just runs the replace against all of our files, the YAML and sh files, and anything that it finds that we would have had those macros in. And this is important because it can be confusing what the project keys and build keys and whatnot need to be in your different YAML files. So starting in your plan, you have a project key and a project name and a project key. So this is going to put all these in for you, as well as link it. So you saw here the plan permissions. This is the build plan permissions, needs the project key as well as the build key, and that's what creates that demo BSD here. So yeah, it's just going to pop that in, link that all correctly. If you configure this all manually, it can be easy to miss where one of those mappings is. So I recommend starting off with this as your boilerplate. You can modify it from here and go on with that. So let me go ahead and I have a Docker Compose here that's under the demo folder, and let me show you what's in here. We're going to spin this up. This is going to spin up that official Atlassian Bamboo image locally. We're going to expose ports, and we're going to map in a data volume. We're also going to spin up Postgres. Bamboo uses a database, and you can use Postgres for it. So we're going to spin that up. We're going to open the ports optionally, and then map a data volume for that. We're also going to pass in some environment variables, Postgres environment variables. What this is going to do is it's going to create a user for us with a username of Bamboo and a password of Bamboo. And then we're also going to create that initial database for us, Bamboo. So let's go ahead and bring up our terminal. And let's go ahead and run this. I have to cd into this demo directory here, and I'm going to Docker Compose up this and detach mode. It's going to bring up everything for us. It's going to take a little while. And Postgres comes up pretty quick, but Bamboo itself is going to take a moment to come up, and that's fine. We can go ahead and try to check that out. I think I have something here. It's probably still down. It's spinning, means it's thinking. It's coming up. Okay. So even though this is up there, it's official image, it still requires license keys. So if you don't have a license key, you can go over to Atlassian.com and register for a trial account. That's what I've done. So I've got a 30-day trial here. I can pop that in and continue. On this first page, you don't have to do much, but we do have to update our base URL because this is in Docker. It's thinking it's got an IP there when instead it's going to be on our local host. So this is going to be used for external URLs. We probably won't even use that, but good to just change that. Everything else is fine. Those are going to map to the internal data volumes. Next, we're going to ask what database we want to use. Remember, we set up Postgres, so we're going to select Postgres. This is going to be on the local Docker network. So on the local Docker network, the name of the service was Postgres, still the local port of 5432. And this is going to connect to the database of Bamboo, which is what we created. We also created the user as Bamboo and the password as Bamboo. So click and continue. If it's all successful and it's able to connect, here we go. It's going to be setting up our database. This only takes a moment. And while that's doing that, so yeah, this was, so yeah, again, we brought up two services, Bamboo and Postgres. So that's it for the compose. It's really simple. Let me cd back into the root directory there. And we can start to take a look at what Bamboo specs actually is going on here. So Bamboo specs, you need to follow a convention. The convention is you have a directory in your root called Bamboo specs, and in that directory, you have a file called bamboo.yaml. Beyond that, you're free to organize it however you want. And what I've outlined here is sort of what I've come to as my best practice. So I separate these out into a build plan, the build plan permissions, a deployment plan, and the deployment plan permissions. You can have multiple. You can have multiple builds. You can have multiple deployments. You can set this up however you want. You could dump this all in one giant file if you wanted. But for me, separating this out into logical steps makes sense. Let me jump over here just to keep this progress growing here. So we're going to continue to set up Bamboo, create the home, user, that's fine. Let's go ahead and user password, that's fine. All Bamboo. Doesn't matter, right? This is just for demo. We're not doing anything with this. This is going to continue setup here. So let's see. So I break these out. So then I have a build plan. In the build plan, you can again break this down however you want. You have your version, again your project key, name and key here. You can configure triggers. You can configure variables, used for your builds, and then you can define your stages. So stages are going to be run in series. So we're going to run this stage first, and then it's going to run this stage next, and then jobs can be run in parallel. So you could have multiple jobs here. In this case, I have a pre-build that's going to build some artifacts. That's going to run. I have a CI variable script that's going to generate some CI variables. An example of that is it's going to create a version, capture the branch, capture the build key and number, timestamp, and a commit hash. And then it's also going to, I can just show you the build artifacts here. So that's running the CI scripts. This is going to copy the CI variables, and then it's going to copy the CI variables, and it's going to share that throughout the build process. So it's going to make it so you can access any CI variables that you need during the build or the deployment are going to be available. What I find useful is putting like the version in there. And then our CI scripts, copy that into artifacts. This is nice because you can then reference any of your CI scripts. You don't have to do a source code checkout at the time of deployment if you're only deploying YAML configuration to Docker or Kubernetes. So you can use this, and this will just copy that over. What's nice about moving your CI scripts outside of Bamboo is Bamboo still does not support feature branches with deployment plans. So if you make changes to your CI scripts in your deployment plan, if you did that inside of this YAML here directly, normally you would have it like, let's say this is your integration environment and you were updating the tasks here, which I move that out. I break that out into shared tasks here, and you have a script task here. And if you had this directly in your YAML and you push this in a branch, you couldn't actually test it in that branch until it's merged into your main or your master or whatever is your primary branch there. So that's real tedious. But if you now break this out into feature branches or into external script files, that's actually going to be an artifact of your feature branch. And when in your deployment calls to run that feature branch script, it's now in the artifacts. And so you can actually simulate, feature branch deployment changes right there in your code files. So Bamboo is up, it's running, and if you're following along, it says time for an agent. We're going to skip this, but this just means we're not going to be able to run any builds or deployments because we don't have any agents running. So if you wanted to actually proceed beyond this and actually run some builds and deployments, you'd have to configure an agent. But like I said, we're going to skip that for now. So first things that we want to do is we're going to create a project. It's going to be a project space for us. We're going to go ahead and, this was in our env file here. I got a project space called demo, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in here. That was the key, so name and key will just be demo here. Save that. That's all we have to do. Now, normally, it used to be that you had to create a plan. You could either do that here, or you could go up to your create plan. You'd have to create the plan, set up the linked repository, then you'd have to set that up as a specs repository. I think this is newer. I didn't know about this before. I don't think it was available before back in earlier versions of 7 and whatnot. But now you can straight go into the linked repositories and configure this linked repository. And I'm going to set this up to get. Oh, I made these changes, but I didn't actually push these yet. So I got to push these. So we're going to create a branch, get checkout -b demo, and I've been testing already. So let me go with demo 3. Doesn't matter. Doing it live. There we go. Let's go ahead and push this if I can type. And now I've got the demo 3 up there. I can go ahead and set this up. So I need to grab my repository URL, copy that over, and paste that in there. And I need to give it, I don't know if you can see, I need to give it a name here. And we're going to say the authentication type is none. Branch, I just created demo 3. We're going to use that because that's what has the updated YAML files in it. Test that connection, successful, and I can go ahead and save this repository. So this repository has been linked. This is a linked repository, and this is linked repositories means you can link these to your deployment plans, your build plans, etc. Now what I want to do is I want to set this up for Bamboo specs. So I just configured this Bamboo specs demo linked repository. All I need to do to set it up for Bamboo specs is check this box here, and somewhere back here is a got it. And email server not configured, that's fine, whatever. I need to allow access to all projects and allow project creation. So this is new that now just by linking this, and then when Bamboo scans this, it's going to read that it needs these projects, these plans created for the build plans and deployment projects, and it's going to automatically configure that for us. That is really cool. Simplifies a lot of things because I don't have to, that's now all configured by the code base, which is great. So I've linked this, the repository is there, and all I got to do is scan the repository. If there's any errors, Bamboo is going to tell us, cross your fingers, hope there's not, but if there is, you can click in and you can view the errors. Mine was successful, but if there was errors, it's going to give you errors one at a time, meaning that when you're only going to see one error. And when you fix that error, then you might see the next error. And when you fix that error, you might see the next error. It can be a tedious process if you have a lot of mistakes, but once you do, it should be resolved. Now, our Bamboo specs was successful. What does that mean? So if I go back to the Bamboo or my projects, I guess, and go to our demo project that we created, I didn't create any plans, but now I linked that repository. It had some plan and project configuration. So I actually have a build plan here now. It thinks that it's, kind of waiting in a pending state because it can't run because there's no agents. But what can we do? We can double check. We can say, let's view the plan configuration. There's that build artifact stage. There's this build service stage. You can see it has triggers. It's got repository polling. You can come in here and view this information. All of this I can see because I have the view and the edit turned on. So you can see I can't actually edit this. I can't edit anything. I can't click save on anything. But if I go back here to the build and the plan permissions, I had these dev users, and the dev users, I think I gave myself the Bamboo, so that's this one user. I'm logged in as that one user, and so I have this permission here to what looks like view, edit, and build. Now, edit, you can see I actually can't edit, but that's what that edit permission does with Bamboo Specs. It allows you to see the configuration. So if I in fact, let's go ahead and remove that, right? And let's go ahead and permission demo. Let's go ahead and push this. I can show you what this does. All I need to do then is go back up here and go to the linked repository, scan that again. And that should pick up that change. And now what that's going to do is, let's say I come back here, up here, out this outer level here, scanning, give it a second. Okay, successful. If I refresh over here, I should be able to come in here and I don't know if it still says, I still see this, but maybe I'm not the Bamboo user. I think it's because this Bamboo user is an admin, so it just has permission to everything anyway. So I guess I can't really simulate this. I could create a new user and then I could try to demo that. But the edit permission for normal users is going to allow them to not view the configuration. That's what the edit does. View allows you to view the results. So if I went to the demo and I went to the build and I could say, once this had build results, it's going to fail to connect probably because there's no agent. Well, you would be able to see the artifacts. You'd be able to see the logs. All of this detail. This is all part of the view capabilities. Build, obviously, that's pretty self-explanatory. I can run the build. Now, on the deployment plan, permissions work a little bit differently. You have deployment project permissions, allows you to view, edit the configuration view as well. And then there's the actual environment. These are like default environment permissions. So I'm giving dev users default environment permissions of view, edit, and deploy. This is at the environment level. All users, as long as you can log in, give them the view access. And then what the Bamboo does with the overrides here is if you provide a specific environment, this is an override, and now instead of everyone having view, or these dev users having view, edit, and deploy, only these prod groups have access to view and deploy. And what you can do with this then is you can say maybe you have like an SRE team or some other team that manages your production deployments, and this is how you can set that up. I know we went through this quick. There's a lot here. You can poke around. You can feel free to modify this to suit your needs. Again, this is what has suited my needs for breaking this down into an organizational structure. So, again, this is your deployment plans. You can add multiple environments here. We have, QA lanes. So I just put in here like what I assume might be some of the defaults, like integration, stage, and production. Feel free to change any of these. Here's an example. You can have your release naming, so you can have it automatically name your next versions for deployments. We map that into our CI variable script that generates a version name there. And yeah, any questions, post those down in the comments. If you have any suggestions, on this code itself, feel free to open up a PR. I'll post links to the repo down below. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and keep plugging away, keep having fun. Thanks, everyone.